Hi folks, this is Christopher with the Healthy Transformations Program. Dr. Mike Breen isn't with me here today, but I'm certain that he'll have lots to say on this topic. In the program guide, it talks about having fresh greens and vegetables. So they're saying 6 daily servings, and each serving is a half to 1 cup. So that's 5 to 6 cups of vegetables a day. But that doesn't include your greens, which are 140 grams for your daily serving. So that's what it says here on page 4 in your guidebook. And lots of folks kind of get stuck on what does that look like. So in the beginning of the program, we encourage you to measure these things out. As you move through the program, you won't need to as much. But maybe partway through you start measuring again just to make sure you're pulling the right amounts out. So I'm going to show you what 140 grams of greens looks like and 5 to 6 cups of vegetables on top of that. And this is why we say people really shouldn't be hungry in this program, because there's so much to eat. First thing we're going to do is we're going to zero out the scale, and I'm going to measure out 140 grams of greens, which is what's in your daily schedule. So I'm just going to set the bowl on the scale, and I'm going to turn it on. That zeroes it out and calibrates it with the weight of the bowl as the 0. So we've got 0. We're going to open up our greens. We like this one in our house. It's an organic spring mix. You can get this at just about every grocery store in our city, certainly here in Calgary. There's lots of different brands, but feel free to use spinach or any green that you might like. We like the ones that are full of lots of nutrients, so we try to stick with stuff that's, like spinach or the spring mix and that kind of thing. Just trying to get to an even 140 here. Not that it really matters at this point because we're within a gram. So there we've got 140 grams of green leafy vegetables, and this is your daily serving. So I'm going to show you different ways that you can use this now, because sometimes we get a little bit tired of all the chewing that it brings. This is quite a bit, and I'm going to show you different ways that you can eat it. Of course, you can eat it just like this in different portions throughout your day, but you can also break it up and do different things with it. So I'm going to show you some of the different things that you can do with it. Okay, so I want to show you different ways that you can eat these greens and get them in you. They're really good. We did have one participant that says, maybe I'll just blend them and choke it down so I can get it over with. But we're actually trying to learn how to enjoy this food. So I would encourage you to find different ways to enjoy the greens. And when I said that to this fellow, and he'll tell you his own testimonial about this, he agreed, he got it. He says, this is the way I'm supposed to eat for the rest of my life. This isn't about choking it down, it's about learning to enjoy it. And it is totally possible. Myself personally, I am absolutely addicted to the taste of spinach, which is something that I never enjoyed in my life. And now I'll eat it like potato chips, just completely plain with nothing on it. So what I want to do now is I'm going to zero out my scale, and I want to split the 140 grams of greens in half. So I need 70 grams of greens, and I'm just going to show you what a salad portion would look like that you might split into 2. So I'm going to put 70 grams of greens in here. We're at 71 grams, so that's close enough. And then what I want to show you is that you might just split this out over 2 meals. So that's a very reasonable portion size for a side salad with whatever else you might be eating. So this would be maybe for 2 meals as an example for the day. So you can see that there, not too bad, and nice big plates here, beautiful greens, they smell delicious. And there's still lots of room for whatever else you'd like to put on that plate that fits in the program. Now what I'd like to do is I'm going to zero out my scale again. And I want to show you what it looks like to do something different with the greens, because some folks have a hard time eating so much salad every day, either because of a time factor, they kind of get sick of it, which is again more just that you're not used to it, because we mostly eat the same things every day. Actually, if you look at your menu, there's not as much diversity in it as you probably think there is, and so for most of us anyway. So I'm going to take half of this, so that's 35 grams, and so I'll have 35 grams and 35 grams, and we're going to do two different things with this. The first one is we're going to steam the first batch, and I'm going to show you what it cooks down to, because it gets really small, and then you can mix it in with whatever you'd like to mix it in with that is within the program guide, or you can blend it, and I'm going to show you what that looks like, because some folks like to blend it and put it in with their shake in the morning, and that adds a really nice unique flavor with the shakes that we have. So I need 35 grams. That's 38. That's 34, so that's close enough. So I've got 34 grams in here, 36 grams in here. Let's call it 35 even on both sides, just for the sake of what we're doing today. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab a pot that I can cover with a lid. I'm going to add a tablespoon of olive oil, and then I'll steam them down, and you can see what that looks like in terms of how you might consume greens that way. And there's certainly nothing wrong with this. Some folks say that maybe we're damaging the nutritional value of the greens. In our program, there might be some scientific proof for that, but what we say is if you're getting them in ya, you're getting them in ya, and that's the most important part. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a pot, and then we'll get started on cooking these down. Because this is my cooking show, it sounds like we're renovating the kitchen because the pots are not nicely stacked like it would be on a real TV show. But hey folks, this is real life, so I'm just gonna go ahead and grab a spatula to mix it around with. And we're just gonna add about a tablespoon or so of olive oil. And this just helps prevent it from sticking to the pan. And then we'll turn the oven on, probably a medium to low heat. And we'll dump that, we'll give the oil a second to heat up. So I've got the stove on now. Actually, we call it an oven here. The stove is the part that you bake stuff in. And you know what's really cool about this actually that I like to share is that I don't actually like spending time in my kitchen. So for me, the way that I live in this program is that I basically try to make everything as convenient as possible. So I'm just showing you different things you can do, but there's lots that you can do with this. Get creative, think, within the box is what we like to say, the Healthy Transformations box, and follow your program guide. I will add just a tiny little bit of salt to this. What that does is it helps evaporate some of the moisture that's in it so that it's not a soupy mess. So I'm only taking half of this right now, which would be a quarter of your daily portion. I'm going to go ahead and stick that in. I'll give it a bit of a mix around, and we'll cover it up and steam it down just so that you can see what that looks like. So I'll just get Kyle to take a shot of what's in the pot here, and you can see already how much they're steamed down. And you can steam them down as much as you want. This is perfectly fine. And you probably don't need to do a whole lot more. You can add pepper if you like for a little bit of flavor, not too much. And there's lots of other spices you can use that don't have sugar or a glycemic response. And that only took me probably about a minute, maybe a minute and a half. And I'm just going to show you what this portion size looks like. So that's 35 grams of greens. You could throw that on a piece of chicken as for additional flavor and your nutrients. These, by the way, are the same amount of greens that you have. So you can imagine if you did all of your greens as steamed, they would maybe only fill half this bowl. So there's lots of ways to get those greens in you. You don't have to be chewing all day. So I just want to show you as a comparison, if you take a look in this bowl, like this is a quarter of your daily serving and it's steamed down. And I'm just going to put it on this plate so that you can see what it looks like. And when I look at this, man, I would love to put that on a piece of chicken and just enjoy it that way. You can see the difference in size here, but you're getting the same thing. So this together is 1/3 of your daily portion. I want to show you one more way that you can eat your greens up and get them in you. And and I think you'll really enjoy it. You can also see that if we had steamed all of this down, as I mentioned before, it would fit maybe in half the size of this bowl. And so it's really not that much chewing, because some people get tired of the chewing. Personally, I really enjoy it, and I just encourage you to try different things as they relate to the program guide. I'll just show the program guide one more time. There's lots of recipes in the back of this guide, so don't feel that you have to, just make it boring. There's lots of different things that you can do. So I'm gonna blend up the greens now just to show you what they look like, and then you'll see a way that you could get it in. So maybe what you would do is you'd have a blended portion for breakfast, and that's going to be this portion, and maybe you'd have this portion with as a snack, and this portion with supper, and maybe you throw these greens on top of a piece of meat or something to that effect. So if you're like me though, you'll just eat them right like that. And they're delicious. So this is our last quarter of greens for the day. And I'm gonna blend them up just so that you can see. So I am gonna go ahead and grab my blender, which isn't in that cupboard. This is how much I really don't like being in the kitchen, and this is why I love this program so much, because I don't like being in the kitchen. You don't have to be either. You can make it anything you want to be. Some people love to cook, and some people don't. I don't like to cook, but that doesn't mean that you can't have success in the program. It's super easy. Usually what I do with my greens is I just throw them on a plate, and I start eating. I make a little salad with a little bit of olive oil and maybe some balsamic vinegar. Personally, I like savory salads, so I'll put like a little savory spice on it. And I just eat it like that with whatever else I'm eating that day, because it's convenient and I don't have to think about it. So I'm gonna go ahead and blend these up now in my blender. We've got greens flying all over the place. This also works very well as confetti. So I'm gonna add about 10 ounces of liquid. That's about 1.25 cups. We'll see if that's enough. In the program guide, it talks about having unsweetened coconut milk and water in the German chocolate shake recipe mix. I'm going to use just about maybe 1/4 cup of almond milk. You want to be careful how much you have, and I'm going to top the rest up with water. We'll blend this up. Again, you can add your shake mix to this, so you blend it first, then add your shake mix, because you don't want to damage the proteins, and you just give it a little at the end, a little bit of a zip with the shake mix in it, or you can mix it manually just because you don't want to damage the proteins with it. So I'm just going to go ahead and get a little bit of almond milk. I'm going to top the rest up with water, and we'll blend it, and you can see what it looks like. So that's about 1/4 cup right there of almond milk. And I'm going to top it up with water to about 1.25 cups. I'm not too particular about measurements. You're welcome to be. I think that there are ways of making this taste better. I'm just giving you an example of what this could look like. Certainly there's more fun things that you could do with this. If this is one of your fruit days, you could throw in a small portion of fruit into the blender as well and sweeten it up a little bit. I'm just going to dump this in, and we'll give it a blend. If for some reason it's not enough liquid, I'll just add more water. splash the greens all over the place. It's a good thing that my spouse cleans the kitchen. And I'm gonna grab a cup. This is what, like, folks, look at this freaking mess here. You do not have to be in the kitchen to do this program. Play it safe. Take your greens to your living room in the container. Don't even need a fork, just eat them with your hands. I actually personally like that happened because I can show you that you don't have to be a master chef. So this is one portion of greens for the day, and actually, sorry, this is a quarter of your portion of greens for the day. It's really simple. I like the taste of it. It does not taste terrible. It's really simple. I'll show you what this looks like looking right beside all of the other greens. So this is what an entire day worth of greens could look like. Like we said, you could steam these down completely. You wouldn't even fill half of this plate if you'd done that. This is what you could have in the morning. You could even double the amount that you put in the shake if you want, because this is a pretty small size shake anyway. I do want to just let you know that my spouse walked up the stairs and looked at the mess in the kitchen. It's pretty incredible to me that dealing with 140 grams of greens, how messy I can make the place. Oh, that's good. Are you recording this? Okay. I'm gonna make more greens because I want to show you what all of your vegetables will look like for the day. So I'm gonna steam down another 35 grams of greens because I've eaten all of these because they're so good. By the way, one of the things that I forgot to mention to you is that sorry, I can't even take myself seriously. One of the things I wanted to mention to you is that if you're steaming down more greens, you might actually put the lid on just while they're steaming down. It doesn't really take long, like I said, about a minute, maybe a minute and a half. With all of the greens for the day, it might be a little bit more. So you might use the lid in that case. We didn't in this case. So I have a friend here who is helping me. His name is Kyle Kalu. He's also my business partner for my day job. And Kyle does actually like to cook, so he's here not just videotaping, but helping me learn how to use my stove. So I'm gonna zero out the scale again. Now remember, oil goes in first. You let it heat up a little bit before you put your greens in. Then you add your seasoning. So this is warm enough for the time being. Actually, we'll just get that a little bit more. You know, one of the things that I've learned is that the oil actually heats up faster if you leave the pot on the stove. Okay, we're gonna throw the greens in there. And Kyle's gonna come over and we're gonna show you how quickly this steams down. So just take a look in the pot, right down there, and I'll just show you how fast this happens. Okay, so they're all fairly coated in the oil. I'm just gonna add a little bit of salt to help pull some of the moisture out. Be careful with your salt because it's very easy to add too much. And a little bit of pepper just for taste. There you go, and then we'll just keep mixing. It really doesn't take long. You could stop here if you don't like your greens particularly mushy. I think that I will stop here. The last batch I made was a little bit on the soft side. I personally don't mind it. I would like that, you know, beside an egg maybe for breakfast, or on a piece of salmon or something to that effect. So we'll just add this down here. And again, what we have is 1/4 plus my green shake. So that is my entire greens portion for the day. Now here's the great news, is that you actually get a ton of vegetables too. So we're gonna break down some of the vegetables, and you can see what 5 to 6 cups of vegetables a day looks like. And again, you're not compelled to eat all of them if you find that you're full. We just recommend you eat the plants first and the other stuff after, because the plants are the things that have all the nutrients in it. And we know that people who eat a primarily plant-based diet, or at least include a lot of plants in their diet, they tend to have better health outcomes. So we're gonna do that right now. So I'm a guy of convenience. You don't have to be a master chef to be in this program. If you have worked in a kitchen before, you're gonna watch me and you're gonna pray for me, because I'm probably gonna slice my thumb open. That only happens once a week. They don't let me use knives the rest of the week. So I had to apply for a special exception to make sure that I could do this video. So actually, I'm not even gonna use the knife, because quite frankly, I don't care. So I'm just going to show you what 5 to 6 cups of vegetables look like. You can eat different vegetables. You don't have to eat broccoli, cauliflower, and celery. That's just what I have here. Make sure you stick to what is in the program guide. And then I'm going to throw some broccoli in. I went from eating chips and microwavable food. I don't even have a microwave now. You know, and stuff that was, you know, from the freezer that I could, you know, just throw in the oven and cook, but not particularly healthy stuff. And so I'm just showing you that even somebody like me, God, I hope you're laughing at this, even somebody like me can have huge success in this program. Watching my spouse walk between the bedroom and the bathroom, and he's just looking at this kitchen thinking, oh God, I hope somebody else is gonna clean it. So here's about 2 cups, a little bit on the generous side of broccoli now in the bowl. So we said 5 to 6 cups of vegetables. You could even have a little less if you find that you're full, but I personally like vegetables now. I didn't before, but I'm in love with them now. And the smell of celery is my favorite. I don't know why. It just smells so delicious. I love that smell. So I just cut the ends off to the fresh bits. And see, no professional chef here. This isn't a cooking show. It's a demonstration. Man, there's so many different vegetables on earth, and I bet you there's a ton of them you haven't even tried. When it comes to vegetables, what we are not including are things like that might be considered high glycemic. So things like potatoes and that kind of thing, we wouldn't necessarily include in this program because it is a little bit higher on the glycemic index. We're just going to go ahead and throw these in. Now, I'm going to show something to you. Spaghetti squash is included. So other types of squash might not be included, but spaghetti squash is included. And part of the reason is that there's actually this incredible spaghetti squash recipe that you can get in the recipe book. It's phenomenal. You throw some unsweetened marinara sauce on there that you can make yourself. There are store-bought brands that don't have sugar in them. You can ask us where the most popular one is for the folks in our program, and we'll let you know. But that recipe is incredible. We do not eat pasta in this house any longer. This is what we eat for our pasta, and we absolutely love it. Just as a test, a couple years ago, my spouse and I actually had a plate of pasta, and it was not good. It wasn't as good as the spaghetti squash itself. So this is what happens to your taste buds. They start to change. It's incredible. So we have this 2 cups of celery. I'm going to dump that in right there. And these are all like this is a full vegetable portion amount that you can eat throughout the day. And I'm going to grab the greens. As you know, I've already drank some of these greens, so the cup is a little emptier than it would be. And this is what your vegetables need to look like for the day. You can, of course, stir fry these down. They'll lose a little bit of bulk. They'll lose some of the water, so there's less chewing. You could bake them if you wish. Season them any way you like, as long as it doesn't have sugar in it. And there's certainly more diversity than what I've put in here, and tons of ways of getting it. So this is lots of food. Some folks come in and they say that they're hungry in our program, but if you're following the program guide and eating everything that you should be, you won't be hungry for any more than a week or two if you experience hunger at all. In fact, most of our participants say that it's too much food and they can't actually eat it all, which is a little bit surprising for an anti-inflammatory and weight loss program. So don't be surprised if you're one of those folks. And if you do have a little bit of hunger and you're eating everything that you're supposed to be eating, just give it a week or so, maybe 2, and you'll find that actually that hunger starts to go away as long as you're following the program guide. So, see, just about killed somebody with that knife there. So this is the Christopher Lawrence cooking show, where almost no cooking took place, and nobody died. I didn't slice a finger. I came out with all of my digits. Thanks very much, guys. I hope this